the larynx. We have three basic voices. Do you believe me? Do you believe me? Do you believe me? Yes, we have three, and they are creak, modal, and falsetto. Let's say my hands are my vocal folds, and every time you can see my throat, it's a puff of air. So I'm going to try and assimilate what's happening with the vocal folds when we're making the sound. Okay, let's start off with creak. Modal. Falsetto. Which one let out the most air? I'll show you again. Creak. Modal. Falsetto. Did you find out? Well, yes, you're right. Falsetto. Falsetto uses the most amount of air. Now, don't forget, we have two kinds of falsetto. Some people call it the head voice. So you've got ah, and this is also falsetto. Ah. So when you hear those deep, rich American vocals, that's falsetto as well. And that can fool a lot of people. So yes, each one of these tones relies on a different amount of air. Creak, which uses the least amount of air. Modal, which uses the intermediate amount of air, and a lot of people call this your chest voice. And falsetto, which uses the most amount of air, and people call that the head voice. I wonder how many times you've gone for a particular note, and in mid-note you've had to change it from your modal voice to your falsetto so as not to strain yourself. Well, that break point there is called the passaggio. Some people call it a break point, like I've mentioned, but a lot of people call it the passaggio. That's when you change from your natural voice to your head voice. We can train you, and I will give you some exercises for this later on, to change smoothly and seamlessly between both tones. Hi, we're back, and now we're in the exercise zone. The exercises that we're going to do will correspond with the areas that we covered previously on the discussion on this DVD. Now we're in the area of the larynx, and I've been told by speech therapists and ENT specialists, that's ear, nose and throat doctors, that this area of the voice we shouldn't pay too much attention to. So long as we're breathing properly and we're supporting the sound, then we don't need to worry about the larynx. Basically, it should be effortless. The exercise that we're going into now is the creak. Now remember, creak uses the least amount of air. And what I'm going to show you is a little warm-up exercises with creak. Now, here's the first one. Sounding out the vowels in pure creak. Let me turn to the side so you can see how I'm breathing and everything. And here we go. I'll do it again. Did you notice that when I did that, the majority of the air still remained in my lungs? So at the end of that, I breathed out virtually all the air I took in. And that's because creak uses the least amount of air. That's a nice exercise to just get you warming up in the morning. This is the beginning of sound into full sound. So we're coming from pure creak, which is virtually nothing, into a full sound. And I'll show you what I mean. Sound a bit like a car, don't I? Let me show you again. Let me push the envelope a little bit more on this one. Try again. Did you see that? Did you hear that? The sound came from nothing, which is pure creak, into a full modal sound, and we've moved it right back into creak again. Why? You're saying, well, that's pointless. Because we're pulling, you have to pull the sound into a modal sound, and then let it drop back down into creak. And there, you'll start to feel the pathway of where to travel along. Let's use a different vowel sound, for instance, like O, as mentioned earlier on in the discussion. You hear that? I'll do it once more for you. And here we are, the last exercise. Remember earlier on I mentioned the break point, the passaggio? Well, let's show you how to strengthen that so we get a smooth transition. Here we go. Did you hear that? Let me do it again for you. Now, remember, we don't want to break. We don't want to sound out that break point like this. This is bad. You see, we're not controlling the breath, haven't breathed properly, and a number of things could be happening there. So the whole idea is to get that smooth transition, like this, once more. And that's that.